Welcome to the Confessions of a Group X Instructor podcast. For group exercise junkies and enthusiastic classgoers, we'll explore and uncover authentic, thought-provoking, and heartwarming industry education and inspiration from entertaining, badass fitness pros. And now your host, creator of Warrior Rhythm, Warrior Strength, Warrior Combat, Warrior Revolution, and Warrior Kids Group fitness brands, Ellen DeWord. Here we grow.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Confessions of a Group Fitness Instructor podcast. I am excited to do a solo episode. It's just you and me, baby. It's just us tonight. It is tonight. It's late. It's dark out. I'm heading to the Dominican Republic tomorrow, and so I'm taking a break from packing the podcast with you. Oh, also, my friend came over tonight, Mary. I've talked about her before, aka Warrior Photographer, and she brought me this little gift because it's going to be my birthday while I'm in the DR. And we were just together. I can't even remember where because it's everywhere. I think it was DC or maybe it was San Francisco. And I was kind of talking about the hair on fire life that I live, and I referred to it as an anaerobic lifestyle. Like my life itself is anaerobic. Like get it, like not enough recovery. Anyway, it was funny. And she bought me this like custom little notebook that said something about anaerobic, that anaerobic lifestyle or something like that. Anyway, so between her stopping by and me packing like a maniac, I stopped because I was thinking about you and I have so many episodes right now, like I'm inspired right now, and I have a lot of different topics I want to talk about. And inspiration wanes, by the way, it waxes and wanes. Sometimes I have it in spades, and sometimes there's not much there, but I'm feeling inspired. And one of the topics I want to talk to you about is quitting, how to quit well. And for most of this audience, this is going to specifically apply to giving up a class. Should you not? Why should you? Why shouldn't you? When should you? And how should you? That kind of stuff. But also those of you that are in admin, quitting, stepping down like that, because I just quit my job, kind of, sort of. And I did it really well with a lot of dignity and professionalism in class. And I'm proud of the way I did it and how I handled it with the club and the members and my team. And so I'm going to share my story, and you'll get to know me a little bit better. And then we'll get into the nitty-gritty about giving up classes and some things I really want you to think about before you give up a class. Okay? So my story is that after maybe a decade in being the fitness director at the Downtown Athletic Club of Eugene, I decided to step down. I'm still going to be there in an instructor capacity. I love it there. If you know me at all, you know I love me some DAC. So, it's that beautiful 100,000 square foot historic building with so many the facilities are stunning. The members are to die for. I am like in heaven teaching my classes there. So I'm not going anywhere in that respect, but in terms of admin, I'm stepping down. Now, I was a group fitness director prior to coming to the DAC, and I don't want to be redundant with things I've said on other episodes, but to be short and to the point, the DAC was my first like big girl job where I had an office, I had a computer, I had my own like Outlook email address, you know what I mean? Like I was very visible on site. And when I started, the role was pretty massive. I had personal training under me, had small group training under me, really any decisions about fitness at all, equipment purchases, class pass, my zone, you name it, if it related to fitness, because the Downtown Athletic Club is more than just fitness. It's like fine dining and social and programs and youth and aquatics, and there's lots of different departments, but mine was fitness. Well, the pandemic kind of shifted things for me for a few reasons. One, I launched my own company. That's when, Warrior was born. So that changed a lot. But then also, remember when the world felt super apocalyptic during that time? Was this your experience? Was it like mine? Because there was that like window of time where things were really weird. Like you pull up at a stoplight and like there's a minivan next to you and everyone in the minivan is wearing a mask. And meanwhile, like toilet paper is scarce and it was frightening. And during that time, I think most of the world kind of did this also. Of course, I can't speak for the world, but I took like a bird's eye view of my whole life. And I really had this like different perspective of like, what am I doing with my life? Where am I spending my time? Where do I want to be spending my time? And it was at that time that I knew I wanted to do less administratively at the DAC. So there was also around that time, well, yeah, it was that time that I communicated with the owner that I wanted to do less, like just group fitness. And group fitness is, the song in my heart. That's my like wheelhouse. That's my thing. That's my forte. So I did scale back to just group fitness and um then fast forward a couple of years. So a year or two ago, I was coming home from Chicago and I was going to all these like cool places on the conference circuit. Like I was going to Boston and going to Chicago and San Francisco and Dallas and Nashville and all over. But you know what? All I ever did is see the inside of a hotel. I never actually, the members of my class like thought my life was so glamorous. They're like, oh my gosh, well, when you're in Boston, make sure you do this. And when you're in Canada, make sure you go to Niagara Falls. And like everyone thought I was like having this like glamour lifestyle, but no, really, I was just working at the inside of a hotel, leading fitness sessions. And I was always like buzzing in and buzzing out, like doing, I call it the turn and burn, like get in on Thursday, set up a booth, present Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and get home. There isn't really time for anything vacation-like or relaxing or fun or social. It's all work and fun stuff, team stuff, but work. Anyway, so I would always buzz home because I needed to get back to work, my big girl job. And I was just spinning a lot of plates in the air, and my business continued to grow and grow and grow and grow. And I was able to keep up with both of my jobs, my Warrior Instructor Academy and also the admin at the DAC. Can you guys hear those clippy clippy? Hello, Molly. The dog is walking in here to podcast with us tonight. So, where was I? Oh, just that like I felt like anaerobic lifestyle. I felt like, to bring it full circle, I felt like my hair was on fire, and while I was getting my work done, there just wasn't any recovery. There wasn't any time to like do anything fun. So anyway, at that time, oh my goodness, I'm giving you so much backstory. I didn't intend to give you. Let me get to the point quicker here. I did communicate over coffee with the owner of the club and just say like, hey, here's how I'm feeling. I want to continue to do a good job. But I need to do less. And, maybe that looks like I get an assistant. Maybe that looks like I step down and we find someone else, or maybe that means I have more remote hours and am less on site. Anyway, so we navigated that and kind of came up with a different sort of hours and parameters around my admin that worked for me until a couple months ago, when I decided to just let go, just let go. And obviously it was hard for me. Maybe you can hear that in my voice. This was not easy. It honestly took me probably 2 years to finally feel like I could like like open my white knuckle grip on this job I love so much. Hey, stop it, Molly. Molly, get away from the cat. Excuse my animals and me. Um, so, um, yeah, it was hard because I take so much pride in my group fitness directorship at the DAC. I can say truthfully that that job helped elevate me uh, and made me a better professional. I learned so much, and honestly, I've been very proud to be associated professionally with that facility, and my team is insanely incredible. So well educated, so passionate, absolute pros, experts. Talk about a well-oiled machine. Like that group of men and women that I have had the pleasure of leading is just beyond beyond a gift. And then the members are the song in my heart. So anyway, all that to say, I finally decided to tender my resignation as admin. Like I say, I'll still be teaching classes there. So how do you do it? How do you quit well? One, you type a letter and you give a reason why, and you express your gratitude, and you offer to make the transition smooth. So that was kind of my approach, and you hand deliver it with a conversation. This isn't just an email, it's certainly not a text, and it certainly isn't a place if you have any like beef or grievances, or you're wanting to step down because of any type of discord or contention. Like, this is not the time or place to put anything passive aggressive or anything in between the lines. Really, your letter of resignation is just gratitude, a simple short explanation, and hopefully an offer to help with the transition. So that's what I did. I literally said, I will stay on until you find the right person. I will help you find the right person. And I recommended some internal, I had some recommendations of some internal hires so that it would be someone that knew and had rapport already with our members and our staff. And I really said, I will stay as long as it takes to make that transition smooth. And I'll be super positive and supportive in this. And I'll train my successor and, set them up for success. And also during these last couple months that I've been kind of like stepping down and training my successor and leaving and letting go, um, I've really I've continued to work very, very, very hard. And I say that because I think some people, when they quit, they like take their foot off the gas. They quit and they like tap out. And I did not. I quit and I hired 4 new people. I launched a new schedule, and it is the best news. That's the best schedule the DAC has ever, like, we are at the March schedule, and I'm podcasting right now at the end of March. The March schedule release is in truth the best schedule in terms of balance and cohesion and variety and expertise and talent. Like, it's the best schedule we've put out ever. I'm so proud of that. And I wanted to leave them in a good place. Have you ever known people that like want to quit or want to leave, and they like want the company to suffer, or they like, they want the company to hurt? That's just ego. That's just like ego. And, I shed my ego, and I want them to be successful. Like, I guess, talk about shedding my ego. Like, I want them to not feel like they missed me. Like, they're in good hands and it's gonna be okay. And I don't know. It's kind of like parenting. Like, you don't want your kids to remain dependent on you once they're adults. Like, you want them to be independent and to not need you. And so anyway, maybe not a perfect analogy, but um so so that's kind of part of the story of like why I stepped down. And the other part is my brand is just taking off. And in Eugene here, the YMCA just opened a new facility. It's a nearly $50 million, $48 million facility. You guys know I'm an artist, has $500,000 worth of murals, art on the walls that is just like to die for, with like a Pacific Northwest themes everywhere. Ugh, it's really cool. It's a really cool facility, but the reason I was drawn to the Y isn't because of the fancy schmancy building. Well, that's not true. I like that too. It's pretty fancy over there. But it's because there's more opportunity for growth with my company to be teaching at a YMCA, simply because they're national, like they're everywhere. And because YMCAs across the country are they're very pro warrior. They love our programs. They're very program forward. They like new things. They like variety, and they're very into bringing on our programs, especially because they're very family oriented, and we have a kids program. So it felt like a smart move. So just FYI, on a personal note, now I'll be teaching classes at the DAC and at our local YMCA, and no longer doing management, other than I'm still kind of training my successor. All right, now let's talk about you. Let's talk about teaching classes and how sometimes, come on, you admit it, we know, sometimes you want to give up your class. Sometimes I want to give up my class. Sometimes that class is just like wah wah, or there's circumstances. So let's dive in. First, and I don't have like tons for you tonight, so this is going to be we're going to get in and get out. First, give it the high test. I coined that term. You may keep it. High test. That is when, after you teach a class and you are riding that high, you know what I mean. Like, I know you know what I mean. That after class buzz that is like, well, I've never done drugs, but I imagine it's better than any drugs. After teaching a class, when just all the vibes are high, that feeling. Okay, so sometimes let's say there's a class that you are kind of like not enjoying very much for whatever reason. Maybe it's poorly attended, maybe the energy is off, maybe it's hard to get there at that time for you. Whatever, maybe it's like you have young kids at home and it's at night and you're torn, you want to be home with your kids. So there's lots of reasons we might want to give up a class. Aside from, like, of course, like you're on maternity leave or you have to move. I mean, those are like obvious ones. We're not going to talk about that. But when it's like a hard decision. So give it 6 months before you throw in the towel. If it's just that it's not doing it for you, it doesn't fill your cup, it's not intrinsically rewarding for you enough, give it 6 months. And if you didn't listen to my podcast yet on how to build your class attendance, listen to that, because there's practical ways in which you can build energy and numbers in your class, and that might change the way you feel about it. So give it 6 months. If during the 6 months you experience any of the high, then don't give up the class. Reset your 6 months. Okay? It's kind of like, I'm going to make an analogy to menopause. A woman is in menopause when she hasn't had her menstrual period for a year, I think. So if 11 months into that year, she has a menstrual cycle, that year starts over. That's what happens in the 6 months. If you get that high, you got to start it over. I think we tend to be too quick to give up classes when they just might need a little more time and energy to build. The fulfillment, that intrinsic will come. We just have to hang in there longer. Plus, if you're new to a class, like you're taking on a class, it is fair to your boss, your supervisor, to your members. It is fair to give it 6 months, and not to be the kind of instructor that takes on a class, 2 months later decides it's not working for you and you're already looking for a replacement, because that kind of turnover is so hard for that time slot in that group, in that class. Okay, so that's the high test. I think sometimes instructors do give up classes because it's just not like so fun. Like it doesn't scratch that like fun itch. Then give 2 weeks notice, and if possible more. If possible more. Like, here's my 2 weeks notice. That being said, if you're in a bind, I'm willing to stay in for a few more weeks. That is ideal. No, it's not expected, but that's just a really nice courtesy you could give your manager, because, sometimes it takes a while to find the perfect replacement. And sometimes the perfect replacement for you might take a little more than 2 weeks to find. So if possible, give feedback on why you're leaving, and of course, express your gratitude and all of that. So just know that if you are quick to give up classes, you might be like burning little tiny bridges. I had a great instructor, just a coveted instructor, the kind you really want on your schedule. I had just an amazing instructor give up classes quite frequently. And then one day I was just like, I'm not going to offer her any more classes because she doesn't keep them. So little did she know, like that last class she gave up, that was her last opportunity with me. So just know that, if you give up a class, you might not get it back, and you might have less opportunities, if any, at that location. And on the flip side, if you're someone, and I have these instructors too, that hang in there, they hang in. Their class might be on the struggle bus, but they are hanging in there and doing everything they can to make it work. We notice that too as supervisors, and that matters when it's time to think about who we might want to offer more classes to, is those instructors that do not throw in the towel easily or quickly. I had a member in my class a couple weeks ago. She had just returned from like a Bible study or something like that, a women's retreat. And she was like saying how she learned not to trust her gut. Like, how we have that expression, trust your gut. And she was pointing out like the gut is very moody. The gut is our emotional brain. The gut is really where our like serotonin and dopamine and those receptors, 90% are in our gut. And we often say trust your gut, and that's like trusting your feelings. And those suckers change, So maybe not trust your gut, maybe be a little more thoughtful. My encouragement to you, if you're thinking about giving up a class, is to pump the brakes, to give it a little more time, to give it that 6-month high test. And if it's still just not ideal for you in your life, and it's not filling your cup, and you've done your best for 6 months, and it's just like, oh, I don't want to go. And even after the class, you're still feeling like, oh, then maybe, and then give them a little bit of time if you can. Okay, my confession for you tonight is that starting at the YMCA is totally humbling for me. It's like, it's just like hard on my ego in a good way, I guess, because I'm starting from scratch. Like I'm a newbie. I've got to build a class like a beginner. And, you know, I'm used to walking into the DAC where everybody knows and loves me, and I walk in like the cock of the walk, and it's good for me to have that stripped away and to walk into a place like I've got to prove myself and earn respect, and they don't know who I am. And that's my confession, is that been a scary and humbling couple weeks as I've started at a new location. And if you follow me on social now, you'll see 2 beautiful locations in my class stories and reels. And that's all I've got for you tonight, team. Be slow to quit. And if you do quit, do it well and with dignity and integrity. All right. I love you guys. I'm going to go finish packing for the Dominican Republic.
Thank you for joining in on the Confessions of a Group X Instructor podcast. If you're interested in becoming a warrior instructor, go to warriorinstructors.com. But if you want more and found this episode amazing, please give us a rating. And with a simple click to subscribe, we'll invite you back to our next episode. So remember, be brave, be bold, be blessed. And above all, listen, learn, love.